So, over the last 4 years, I have been using a very simple system for at most 5 to 10 minutes every single morning in order to stay fully updated with what is happening here in the world of crypto. And the reason this system has been so important for me is because not only do I trade and invest in crypto, but I'm also running multiple businesses here in crypto that bring in well over $1 million a year. And if I didn't have this system, I honestly think all of that stuff would crumble. My trades wouldn't work because I don't know what's going on. I couldn't invest because I don't know what's going on. I couldn't run a school because I don't know what's going on, a creator relations agency, or a YouTube channel. None of it will work if it wasn't for this system. And realizing just how important this system is, I was like, you know what? What better than to talk about and to make a video about than this system itself and tell all of you exactly what the system is, how it works, and hopefully it can be a benefit to you, like it's been a benefit to me as I've been trying to build this 8-figure empire, is what I've been calling it, as cringe as it may be. And so today, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play a clip for you all. It's like a 20 or 30-minute video that we're pulling from this school. It's from a workshop that I did just earlier today, where I gave our school members the exact breakdown of what this little system is, exactly how it works, and how I've used it to, again, do what I've done so far. And so hopefully you guys do enjoy it. And if you do, I will tell you at the end of the video how you can sign up for the school today and get more access to workshops and things like this going forward. But without further ado, let's play the clip and let's talk about this little bitty, tiny, basic, normal system that's been so valuable to me and my company. And so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to dive straight on into it, because today we are covering what I like to call the C plus D plus E equals M system. Now, one day, yes, I will give this a better name, but be nice. This is the best I got. Okay. So, what is the CDEM cycle? Okay, or analysis system. So the way that it works, and what this is basically just a system that I use to, again, ensure that I know exactly what is going on in the market every single day. And so what it is this. If you go ahead and take a look, it's context plus a diagnosis plus my expectations gives me the move that I'm going to make next. And so what I'll do is I'll say, okay, in simple terms, what's been going on, the context. D, diagnosis. What is currently happening? What is the market currently experiencing? And E, expectations. What am I expecting next from the market? And based on these three things, which is simply just past, present, and future, it gives me my overall move. What am I going to do today? Now, oftentimes that is nothing. I will usually just do nothing. More days than not, I do nothing. But I have a reason for doing nothing. I don't buy for no reason. I don't sell for no reason. I don't hold for just no reason. I always have a reason for what I do. And again, because of this, I am capable of not really being impacted or affected by the moves of the market. I'm always aware of what's going on. So let's talk about what I do the first day, the moment that I log in. What exactly am I doing to first and foremost understand the context of the market? Now, none of these things that I'm going to tell you all today are going to be super complicated, super complex. Matter of fact, it's probably more simple than you would expect. But when you combine all of these simple pieces together, you actually end up putting together a system that works super well. And let me show you mine. So the very first thing that I personally do whenever I'm trying to establish the context of the market is I literally just go to crypto bubbles. And I know that might be like kind of like a noob beginner sort of thing, but trust me, it works very well. Because what I can do is I can get a grasp on what's happening in the entire crypto market that day, that week, that month within just a minute or two. So what I'll first and foremost do is I'll just look at the day. What's going on today? Okay, the market's looking pretty good. Okay, how's that impacting how we're performing in the week? The week is still a little bit red. We're not looking fantastic. And what about the month? Yeah, the month is also not looking good. So now I have a whole bunch of context about the last 24 hours to the last month. I know that the crypto market's doing okay right now, but truth be told, the last week and the last month have been very bad. And so what we're seeing right now today is nothing more than just a little bit of a recovery with a lot of room left to grow. And so do you see how just losing bubbles, you can just get an understanding of where the market's at from price performance? I mean, just like that. Now, I personally only really pay attention to the top 100 when I'm logging in the morning and trying to figure out what's going on here with the market. But what you can also do is you can use this button, the 1 to 100 button, and it'll actually tell you not only what's happening in the top 1,000, but also how things are performing across exchanges as well, which is super important because they manipulate the market. And so what we can see is like, okay, today the top 1,000 is looking pretty green. If we go out to the weekly and now take a look, the top 1,000 is looking pretty ugly, pretty well diversified across all of the top 1,000. It's not even really getting worse. Like, oddly enough, the 300 to 400 is performing better than the 1 to 100. So the whole market's just not looking great. And then again, for the month, the market's not looking all too fantastic either. And so from a very base perspective, and trust me, we're going to get into the technicals in a second, but from a base model perspective, I now have an understanding of saying, okay, well, the market is crappy the last month, crappy the last week, but looking a little bit better today. Now, the question that I may ask myself is, okay, has there been any news? Is there anything going on? What is it that is causing the market to move like that? What caused the market to be bad over the last week and the last month? And has anything happened today to make it a little bit better? Well, naturally, I already know that the reason why the market's performing good or has been performing badly over the last, say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks has been because of the situation between Trump and China, tariffs, macroeconomic uncertainty, all of these sorts of things, sprinkled in with a little bit of manipulation. I already know these things. But had I not known these things, the easiest thing you're just going to do is you're just going to go to Google and type in crypto news. And had all of that stuff just happened, you would see everything here to give you a good establishment of why the market did what the market did. And so what I'm looking at right now is I'm saying, okay, like crypto news, is anything really happening? So I know, okay, I know why the crypto market crashed the last week and the last month. Of course, it was the China tariff situation, etc. But is anything causing the market to pump today? Let's go look. A macro perspective, no, not really. It doesn't seem like anything's big happening. You know what? The other thing I like to do, I just go to Discord. Like, I'll just go to Discord, I'll go to the school, and I'll just look. And if you actually go over to Lewis's channel, Lewis will basically always tell you what's happening. So if the market's pumping, Lewis will tell you why the market's pumping. If the market's dumping, Lewis will tell you why the market's dumping. It is one of the easiest, surefire ways of knowing what is happening in the market. So just go over there and just go look. But scroll through the school. You can go to the trades chat. Go see if anything has been announced there. Are we talking about anything? In the general chat, are we talking about anything? And of course, it's taken me a few minutes to break this down for you, but truth be told, this is fast. You wake up in the morning, go look at bubbles. What's happening? Day, week, month. Okay. Still, about the same. Week, month, not looking good. Day, not looking great. The daily looking a bit better, though, actually. Any news? No, not much news at all. Let's go look at Discord. Nothing. They're not talking about anything crazy. Nothing crazy. Has Lewis kind of talked about anything macro? No, not really. Maybe go watch his video. All right, cool. So, all in all, the market's in the same spot. Boom. Macro, still uncertain, not looking too great, but over the last day, things are looking a little bit better. So, at that point, now I have an understanding from a fundamental perspective what's happening in the market. And now it's time to zoom into, of course, the technicals. Because remember, I'm still trying to gather context. This is the whole point of this whole thing. I'm just trying to gather context. What has been going on? Okay. And so the next thing that I'm going to do is say, okay, first and foremost, I look at Bitcoin. In a market cycle like we're in right now, Bitcoin has been leading the market for the most part. Sure, there have been periods in time in which Bitcoin has been underperforming, but it's not often, right? Bitcoin is usually in control of the market. So what I'll usually do is I'll go out to the daily candle on TradingView and I'll say, okay, what is Bitcoin doing right now? And I'm not looking at this very closely. I'm looking at this from a zoomed out perspective. What is Bitcoin doing? And I'll look at it from a macro perspective, then a midterm perspective, then a short term perspective. And that'll give me a bit more context. So the next bit of context is like, okay, so I know what's happening with the Trump and China tariff situation. It's put a strain on the market. How has that strain actually impacted crypto? Well, it's pushed Bitcoin down a little bit out of this range that it's been in for the last couple months. But truth be told, Bitcoin is trying to recover back into that range. And realistically, we're just going sideways right now. Yes, we've had some big swings up. Yes, we've had some big swings down. Yes, we've kind of stayed in the same spot for a little bit. And this Trump news and the China news, it has caused a strain on the market, but it's not really forced us too far out of this range yet. So realistically, from a macro perspective, Bitcoin's price is still basically in the same place that it's been for the last couple months. And it is just trying to find some support and either determine if it's going to use that support to continue upwards or if it's going to break downwards. And so from a macro perspective, the context is that Bitcoin has just been price bound, or range bound. It's just been kind of sideways consolidating in this channel. And it's trying to figure out what move it wants to make from there. Well, of course, that's the context. And we're just going to leave it there for now before we go into the diagnosis. And then the very last thing that I'm actually going to go look at, and something that I think a lot of people miss out on, is I go look at sentiment and I look at manipulation, because they are the same thing in my opinion. When sentiment shifts to one direction, the market's likely to get liquidated in that direction. So the next thing that I'll do to establish context, and the last thing, now that I know what's happening from a macro perspective and a technical perspective, is I'm going to look at a sentiment and manipulation perspective. How is the market feeling and what are people doing because of it? And so what we can see is that the market is currently in fear. So because of the China news and because Bitcoin's price is still range bound, there's a lot of fear in the market right now. People are very scared, which is hence why, of course, there's fear on the crypto fear and greed index. And as a result of that, obviously, I would assume that whenever there's a big moment of, fear or emotion, people are probably getting liquidated. And sure enough, whenever you go look at your liquidation maps, all of them point in the direction of heavy liquidations. Matter of fact, another thing that you can go do is you can type in liquidation history. And you can use this tool. And this liquidation history tool is going to show you also the amount of people who've been getting liquidated recently. And as of course, what you can see is one of the biggest liquidations in crypto history happened a couple days ago, which just goes to further add on to the whole context. And so now that I see, okay, a lot of people are getting liquidated, people are very scared right now. China news, tariff news, range bound news. Now my context is clear. The context of this market is this: we are seeing a situation right now in which China and Donald Trump have had a little bit of beef. There's been some macroeconomic uncertainty that's been spilling over into the market as a result of it. And so, of course, because of that, people are feeling fearful. They're feeling scared. As that fear enters into the market, of course, that is going to be a trigger for manipulation to occur because obviously liquidations are one of the driving factors here in the crypto market. Now, as these liquidations have been occurring, they've pushed Bitcoin's price to the downside of course, this range in which it's been in for the last couple months. And right now, Bitcoin is trying to make a decision of whether or not it is going to stay within this range or break down out of this range. And that gives us a much clearer understanding of what's been happening historically. And so now that we have an understanding of what's been happening historically, all we're going to do now is we're going to make our diagnosis. What is currently happening? So, knowing that Bitcoin's price has been range bound and kind of been struggling through all of this macroeconomic uncertainty and everything that's been happening, what we can do is we can go look and say, okay, well, it's very clear. Now that we know what's been happening, we know what's happening now. And if we zoom in a little bit on the 4 hour charts, you can see it even clearer. Bitcoin's price had been in this range between $108,000 and $125,000 for quite some time. And Bitcoin's price, as a result of all of the fear and the news that have come out over the last couple of weeks, has now been forced out of that range back up towards the downside. And so, what is happening right now is Bitcoin is trying to decide whether or not its price is going to be able to recover back into this range above 108 and probably push back up towards the top side, or if Bitcoin's price is going to get rejected and actually start breaking to the downside. And so, the decision that's occurring right now for the crypto market, based on Bitcoin's price specifically, is whether or not we are going to recover back in or break down below. There's a battle happening. The bulls are trying to push the price to the upside. And remember, bulls and bears don't actually exist in crypto, but it's just an educative, illustrative term, right? The bulls are trying to push the price up. The bears are trying to push the price to the downside. And so there's a struggle happening. There's a power trip happening. There's a battle happening right now. And so now we have a very clear understanding. There's been a lot of fear. There's been a lot of uncertainty. People have been very worried. Markets getting manipulated. People are getting liquidated. And that has forced Bitcoin's price and altcoin prices to the downside of their ranges. And so right now, these altcoins and Bitcoin are trying to decide whether or not they will recover back in those ranges, or if this is going to be a real breakdown here in the market as a result of all of the fear that we're seeing right now. And so what comes next after that is the expectation. So now that we know what's currently happening and what's been happening, we can now start to set our expectations of what we can start to expect next. And so, do you see how these pieces start to align with each other? Look at the fundamentals, look at the technicals, look at the sentiment, understand what's been happening, then decide what's happening currently, then use what's happening currently to set a clear standard of what you need to expect next. Put a 2 in the chat right now if you guys are finding this valuable. And so, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set our expectations. Okay, what are we expecting next? Well, what we know now, looking at Bitcoin's price, is that Bitcoin is about to make a major decision. We know that it's either going to recover back into range or it's going to start to break down out of range. And depending on that, it's going to make a massive impact on the market itself, naturally, right? Bitcoin is in control of the market. Bitcoin dominance has been climbing. So, of course, this is going to impact crypto, and we need to pay attention to it. And so, what I would say is that what I expect next is one, that Bitcoin is about to make a decision of where it's about to go. But that's not good enough, right? We generally want to have some sort of understanding of where we think things are going to happen and where we think things are going to go. I think that's very important. And so, what I would do is I would go in and I would say, okay, so Bitcoin's price is coming back down. It's currently trying to re-enter back into a range after breaking down out of it a couple of days ago. Are there any signs or clues or signals or anything that give me a hint, at least, of where this is going to go from here? Is there that at least? Right. And so what I would do is just look for them. So the first thing I may do is I may think of sentiment itself. Okay. So from a sentiment perspective, what we can see is that if we just go back all the way out to the fear and greed index, and that's always something you should be looking at rather frequently, I would say. We look at the crypto fear and greed index. We're in fear right now. We were getting very close to extreme fear not too long ago. And so because we're in fear, extreme fear, whatever we are in, that does incline me to believe it's more likely that Bitcoin may try to recover. Why? Because Bitcoin has a history of bouncing when it's in fear and in extreme fear. That's just a very basic thing to think, okay? But it is somewhat true. Now, in addition to that, is there anything that's happening from a liquidation perspective, right? Because remember, sentiment and manipulation are aligned. They're like one in a onion. I don't know the term, but you get the point, right? And so if we go out and we go out to say liquidation map, we can kind of see what's brewing over here. So the liquidation map, remember, will tell us how many liquidations there are to the downside and the upside. Historically speaking, this crypto market will move in the direction in which there are the most amounts of liquidations, at least this year. Because when people get liquidated, that wipes out retail investors and it makes this industry more profitable for centralized exchanges, market makers, etc. And I know that sounds backwards. I know it sounds dumb. Unfortunately, is the way in which these market dynamics work. And so what I'll look for is say, okay, what direction would be the most liquidations? That's generally what I'll just ask myself. And on the 30-day, we can see there's more liquidations to the top side, a lot of them right in front of us, like right at 109K, which I take into consideration. On the 7-day, there's more liquidations to the top side. And on the 1-day, there's less liquidations to the top side. So what does that mean to me? Well, I would say that in general, because the market is in fear and there are a lot of liquidations that can occur if this market goes up, I think mid to long term, it makes a lot of sense for Bitcoin to actually reapproach this higher side and start to try to push upwards based purely off sentiment and manipulation. But knowing that in the short term, there are a good bit of liquidations that could occur if Bitcoin goes down, I'm not going to say it'll immediately go there. Maybe we need to come back down one more time and set in some sort of double bottom, one more reaccumulation before we can make that move upwards, right? That's the threat that this poses. And so that's, of course, something to pay attention to. So, in general, based off of sentiment and then, of course, manipulation, metrics, analysis, whatever you want to call it, I would look at this and think, okay, well, we're in a spot right now where, of course, we should definitely see those market manipulators wanting to push this market up to one, liquidate those short traders, but to two, obviously, that's good for their spot bags. But there is some danger still below, so maybe don't go all in right now. Okay, so that's kind of the sentiment and the market analysis side of things. The next thing that I would look for is okay, technical indicators. Now, I'm a very, very basic technical analyst these days. I am not very complex. I'm not very dynamic. I don't even know if I'm all that good anymore. But what I do know is that whenever I look at these technicals, I look for very similar things. And I've been looking at these specific things for 6 or 7 years. And over the last 6 or 7 years, I've come to realize that a few indicators give me a clear picture of what I'm looking for. My favorite one being the RSI. The movement of the RSI will give me a clear understanding of the momentum and the strength that is occurring in a move. So, for example, if I start to see the crypto market dumping, Bitcoin's price dumping like it is right here, and as Bitcoin's price is falling, I start to notice something like this, which looks like momentum starting to shift back in the upside, even though the price is dropping. What I'll notice is like, okay, look, even though price is falling right now, as we're approaching a macro level of support, which is $100,000, we are starting to recognize momentum shifting here on the 4-hour candles. And matter of fact, if we actually look at the daily candles, one interesting thing that you can see as well is that we did get a bit of a swing up back here on the daily candles as well. And so when I start to notice these things, I say, okay, well, as we are seeing Bitcoin's price approaching macro support, the bears, quote unquote, are losing momentum. This move to the downside is losing strength, and that could be a good signal or sign that the market's going to try to reverse. In addition to that, I look at the Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands give me a good understanding of whether or not we're overextended to the downside or to the upside. And what we can see is that the Bollinger Bands have now fully extended as the candles have now started closing at the bottom of those Bollinger Bands. The last time this happened, we rallied here. The last time before that, we rallied here after this continued move downwards. The time before that, this. The time before that, this. The time before that, this, right? You can see how frequently when you go to the bottom of your Bollinger Bands, it is that you can try to recover to the top side. So when I combine all of these things together from a technical perspective, a sentiment perspective, a manipulation perspective, and from a macro perspective, knowing that the macroeconomic picture is clearing up a little bit as China and Trump seem to be kind of getting buddy again, I would say, okay, although I don't know for sure, and no one ever does, I think the market has a decent sized chance of recovering here. I think it is well within reason that Bitcoin might maybe come back down, try to wipe liquidations one more time to the downside, and then maybe try to rally back up to say 115 to start really wiping out some short traders and give us a little bit of relief. And so that's purely a guess. It's purely speculation, but it is my bias. It's the direction I think things are going to go. So how do I respond to this? Kind of what's the next thing I do? Well, it depends on how you are in this market. Let's say, for example, if you're a believer that, or if you're a day trader, sorry, if you're a day trader, well, you can start to, of course, base your trades based on that move, and that's when we're going to start to kind of move into the next thing after expectations is going into the move. What move will I make? So if you're a trader, you might say, okay, well, this is a great opportunity to open up a low leverage long trade, stop loss set below the low, below those liquidation levels, stop loss set down here, open up a liquidation or open up a long trade, maybe double back into that long trade if we do get that final pullback, maybe tighten up the stop loss in that pullback one time, and then set your take profit back at like structural highs or something like that, right? And this is just a random example I'm giving you, but I think you get the point. I'm gonna base my move based on this previous analysis that I did, which is, of course, the CDE, the context, the diagnosis, and the expectations. Or maybe I'm a long term holder and I just like to accumulate Bitcoin at good times and that's it. Well, what I would say is, okay, well, the context is that the market's been falling. The diagnosis is that there's a battle happening right now. And I think Bitcoin's price could start to go up from here. So what would I do? Maybe I'd buy a little bit, especially knowing that the crypto market is in fear. People are very scared and everyone's screaming that the bear market's here. Yeah, sure. Maybe this is the time that I'll go in and I'll buy. Or maybe I'm someone who wants to short the market. Maybe I'm someone who is swing trading short trades and I want to short this market. Well, based off my CDE, of course, the context diagnosis and expectations, I might go in and say, well, I'm going to prepare to open up a short trade if we break structural lows, if we do come back down to retest and start to try to retrace and liquidate some of these traders, open up maybe some sort of short trade if we do break structural lows, come back down, maybe set a stop loss back above structural highs or just something along those lines. You kind of get the point, right? It doesn't matter so much what you're doing. Like this isn't, not trying to give you too real of analysis right now, but I'm more kind of showing you the way that I analyze this market. And so I've explained to you in the last 17 minutes how I do this. I can do this within like 5 or 6 minutes, which is the reason I'm able to make YouTube videos every day. I'm able to put short form content out there every day, is because every single day I have a grasp on what's going on. And the truth be told, guys, this becomes very easy when you do it every day. Because listen, when you know the context of the market, you don't have to reestablish what the context of the market is. When you have when you're trying to get your diagnosis, if you're looking at it every day and making your diagnosis, you just start to naturally flow. You know what's happening. And then your expectations, you're looking to see if anything has validated or invalidated those expectations, and then you just move on. And so if you get in a constant cycle of putting a market analysis system together for yourself, what you'll come to realize is every day you can look at the market and literally do this. This is just how fast I did it this morning. Okay, all right, this is what's going on with bubbles. All righty, what we looking like here? What we looking like here? Okay, sounds good. All right, cool. Anything going on out here on CoinMarketCap that I should know about? Nothing to stand out. Any news? No. Any posts? No, nothing too crazy. Anything going on here? Yeah, well, that's something there for sure. All right, let's look at the price. Nothing too crazy has changed. All right, cool. We're still in the range. We're back testing the range. I think we're probably going to try to re-enter. Battle's happening right now. I'll probably just wait this one out, see if we can reclaim the range. And if so, I might open up a long trade, stop loss set below the range or below the structural low. But I guess we'll just kind of wait that out and see how it plays out. How's the market looking? Yeah, there is a little bit of liquidations down below us, so that is a bit of a threat. Maybe pull back on long trades, wait to see if we go back to attack them. All right, cool. We'll see what happens. Just like that. Just like that. That's all I do. And I'll do it every day. I don't even know how long that was. But do you get the point? And so my goal here isn't particularly to tell you what to do. And truth be told, many of you are going to make a lot of money here in crypto without doing anything every day. That's fine. If you just buy cryptos and hold them long enough, oftentimes you will make money. So I'm not saying that this is a necessity. I'm not saying this is something you have to do. But what I am telling you is this will give you a bit of an advantage here in this crypto market if you can put a good system in place to make sure that you are constantly staying on top of what is happening in crypto. Okay. So this is my method. This is the things that I do. Again, I've never really shared this before. As many of you know, I have made a decent amount of some change from the crypto market, from investing, from trading, and as a crypto YouTuber and as a businessman here in crypto. And in order to facilitate all these things, right? In order for my creator business to flourish as it is, for the school to be able to do decently, for the YouTube channel to do decently, my investments, trades, whatever, for them all to do decently, I have to know what's happening in the market. And so someone who is running multiple companies and a YouTube channel and my own investments, this is a very basic system that I use in order to manage my understanding of what is happening in crypto. And I do think it could be a benefit to many of you. And so without further ado, that is the end of today's workshop and going over my market analysis system. For all of you members in the school, what I am going to do is I am going to put together a very basic cheat sheet on exactly what it is that I do, how I do it, the websites I look at, and much more. If you want to build this into your own system, feel free. And if not, hopefully that it was still valuable for all of you, no matter how experienced you are here in crypto, in order to take that next step. Alrighty, well, hopefully you did find that super valuable. And as I did mention before, this system right here is the very reason why I've been able to run these multiple 6, 7 figure businesses and a YouTube channel and my own investment portfolio and much more over the last couple years. And hopefully this can be beneficial to you. Now, listen, if you do want to join our school, one thing I will let you know is that this is just a small sliver of what we offer there. Not only do we do weekly workshops and live streams, but we also have courses, classes, coaching, and much more. All that is available to you right now. So all you need to do is head down to the link in the description below. Go check out the school. There's some videos you can watch, some more information you can gather there. And if it feels right for you, feel free to join, because we have one of the biggest growing, thriving ecosystems and communities in all of crypto. And I hope you want to be a part of it. And so with that in mind, of course, I hope you guys did enjoy me coming back here to Tyler Teaches Crypto. We have many videos planned for you all over the next couple months. So stay tuned for those. And I can't wait to see you all in the next one. See you later, everybody.